Good morning. I am at the pond that feeds the dam that feeds Bridal Veil Falls, and what I'm going to be doing today is an altitude dive, a cold water dive. I think it's 50 to 52 degrees, but the idea is that over here, and I'm going to show you in just a minute, there is a gate lock that's not working, and the owner of the property wants it to work so that she can raise or lower the level of the lake. And that's going to be my project today, is to get down there with some GoPros and just take some video and find out what's going on. Here's a view of the pond, the very, very cold pond, and you can see that it's very, very silty. So as far as diving goes, this is going to be kind of a one shot. If I flap one fin, all visibility is going to be absolutely gone. How silty that is. So here's where I'm going to be headed. This is where the spillway goes to Bridal Veil Falls. But what I'm going for is right over there. I'm going to enter from behind where I was just standing, and I've got to make my way over to this wheel, which you can just see underneath the bushes there. That's the wheel that I'm going to be attempting to work with. And so that gate opens and allows more water to come out here. You can see, oh boy, you can see down there how big the pipe is, and you can see how low it is. So I've brought a really long stick with me to try and figure out some distances so that while I'm down there I'll know when I'm close. See that pipe? That's the other end of it. And it's way down there. It's like 10, 12 feet down there, so this is going to be interesting. I may or may not be able to figure this out, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to dive. I don't have any cotter pins in my pocket, so if that's what it takes, I'm just going to be reporting back what's needed and come back later and put a pin in. But that gate valve right there opens up that pipe so that the level of this lake can be raised or lowered. This is going to be a tough project. Let me take my stick and show you just how silty it is. I'll just give you a look at, see if you can see this. That's a good 3 or 4 inches of silt right there. So, like I said, one flap of the fins and it's all over. Just so you can see, I stirred it up a little bit.
Yeah, but once you stir it up,
you can see how much
it seems
silt
to lay down
is.
real quick.
Oh, maybe it's like heavy silt.
It's a heavy silt. It seems to lay down real quick.
Oh boy. So here's our view out to the rhododendrons. Gorgeous, and the temperatures are lovely, but I'm afraid the water's, what's the water, 52, 55?
I have no idea.
What? Oh, there goes another one on the other side. Cool, 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 cool. Some big frogs.
I'm going to start working my way back up the hill. Is there anything else you want me to take a look at?
Oh, no, that was just the main thing, is I wanted to kind of scope out what depth I would see on the Garmin, how big the pipe is so that I know what I'm looking for. That was the main thing.
I'm going to try some different stuff here. With my phone, you have a measuring device on it.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear me over the rush of water, but now I'm at the bottom of the dam. I'm going to stand right here and just measure what this drop is so that I know exactly how deep I should see on my new Garmin Descent of how deep I am. Quickly, I don't think you've ever seen a dive setup like this. I've got air horns because we just saw a bear. Anyway, I'm about to go dive. Wish me luck. I'm going to get wet. Going to get set up and get wet. Here is the bear that we saw earlier, young one. And here is my get up for the day's dives 2 of everything, 2 computers, 2 flashlights, 2 GoPros, and of course, it's time to dive, and it starts to rain, and I'm already worried that the water's going to be so cold, and then it starts to rain, and I'm thinking this is going to be the worst dive ever, but it ended up being very educational, as you can imagine. I'm getting set up for the dive. The water is not quite as cold as I thought it was, but I am very eager to actually figure out what is wrong with this gate valve and sort it out, and I'm hoping it's going to be something so easy. And then I realize, wow, this is pretty low visibility. I mean, I can see maybe 2 feet. I can see the length of my arm. And I start working my way down the shaft of this gate valve, and I can't get very far. I know that there's a platform at the bottom of it. I know I'm needing to look for some horizontal beams that are supporting the platform and are part of the platform. I know from the drawings what I should be seeing, and I'm just not seeing anything like that yet. And I'm realizing that the gate must be all the way down 8 feet down where that pipe is. So I start trying to follow the pipe down, and as I get down there, it's just siltier and siltier. And I'm thinking that if I'm 5'9" and I've got on fins that add almost another feet, that's 6 feet, and my fins are touching the bottom, that means that there's actually maybe 3 feet of silt covering the gate valve. So far, I'm not being very effective at sorting this out, and I realize, wow, I just can't see anything. I need to head back up to the surface and check with Brad and Laura and see if maybe they can turn the valve. Can we see anything more that's going on? This might be the quickest dive ever. It's completely silted. I can't even stick my hands through it. It's so thick, I can't stick my hands through it to feel.
Chase this down.
Yeah, I'm standing on silt. It's an absolute total disbelief that there was going to be absolutely nothing that I could do to help this situation. So I went down again, and Brad turned the wheel to see if we could see anything that was going on, and it was the same. Once I got to the solid packed silt, there was absolutely nothing I could do. So here's my profile of my 2 dives. Love how my Garmin reports all this. Yep, I can feel it turning, and I can follow it down, but then the silt is so thick, I can't even stick my hand through it. Yes, okay. Well,
so it's what we're guessing, because she's about 5'9", she's standing, so you're probably at least 4 feet of silt.
Okay, that's not going to wait because the silt's blocking the valve.
yep.
You're going to have it dredged.
Oh, man. All right. Anything else? I'm not as cold as I thought I would be. Well, yeah. There aren't any alligators, are there? Wow. All right, so here's my 5-minute altitude diving. It ended up being very short because the sediment is about 2 feet under that wheel. As I'm here at the cabin drying my gear with all of the rhododendrons in bloom behind, I will have to say that one of the best pieces of equipment that I brought with me was the Stream to Sea Mouse Defog, because it was so cold. There's no way my mask would not have fogged up without this. So shout out to Stream to Sea. Alright, so in a nutshell, the successes and the failures. So the successes were that I arrived several states away from my home state with every bit of gear that I needed, and everything functioned and everything did fabulous. The failures were that I could not get down to any of the mechanism for the gate lock and couldn't figure out. I'll put some pictures here so that you can see what it's supposed to look like, what I was supposed to be seeing. It was so silted up that I couldn't see it. The smart things that we did were we measured ahead of time to know that it was an 8-foot drop, so that I knew looking at my Garmin what I should see on my new Garmin Descent. And if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to ask them, and I'll ask my husband Bill because he's much better with these electronics than I am. But I am thrilled to tell you that even though I have the Garmin set, that it doesn't what it does is it will end your dive if you're not down deep long enough, And so we kind of have it set. The last dive we did was Blue Heron Bridge, and we were worried that when we came up just to look around, that by the time we went back down, it would count it as a second dive. So we've told it to, I think we've set like either 3 or a 5 minute delay, that it doesn't count it as a new dive until then. So the great news is that it did count this as a dive. I was worried that it wouldn't because it was such a short dive. It was like 7 minutes total. That was all the time it took to realize that there's no way I could get through all the silt. So it was a fantastic experience. It wasn't as cold as I thought it was going to be. The Garmin reported that it was more like 72 degrees, like spring water, which I was surprised. I figured it would be 50, 52 degrees. So it was warmer than I thought. So my wetsuit did fine. All my gear did fine. And in retrospect, we wouldn't have even needed any scuba gear. We could have just simply put on a mask and dove down and look at it, because we could only get down about 4 or 5 feet. So that is the big story of my first altitude dive. And I'll have to try and put on here what altitude it was, if it was 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet. But we definitely followed all of the recommendations for diving at depth, paying attention to things like hypothermia, and that you will float more than you would at sea level, and that your wetsuit actually can kind of, I don't think the term is fluff up, but the wetsuit can actually be more buoyant than it would at sea level. And this was fresh water, so there's also that. So hope you enjoyed this little snippet of my altitude dive. Thanks for watching. Please like. That helps me a lot when you like it, and subscribe so you get notifications of the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.